In the golden dawn of Balkh, beneath the silk canopy of Khorasan skies, a child cried his first note into a world on the edge of change. He was Jalal Ud-Din Muhammad, later known as Rumi. His father, Baha'u'llah Walid, was no ordinary man, a scholar, a mystic, a lighthouse in the fog of ignorance, who saw the fire of divine longing in his son's eyes before the boy knew how to speak. Rumi's early years were inked in scrolls, molded by wisdom, and perfumed with prayers whispered in soft Arabic under the vaulted ceilings of his father's study. But peace in Balkh was fleeting. As Mongol hoofs thundered toward their homeland, the family was forced to abandon the soil that had cradled their roots. They fled east to west, across deserts and kingdoms, scholars and mystics in search of sanctuary. Each city etched lessons into young Rumi's soul. In Baghdad, the river of knowledge flowed through great halls. Rumi, still a boy, wandered among wise men who spoke of logic, law, and stars. They reached Mecca, where silence thundered and stones spoke. Rumi's feet circled the Kaaba. In Damascus, he tasted the fragrance of Greek philosophy, Islamic jurisprudence, and mystical teachings that brewed like wine in the minds of seekers. Years passed, wars faded into memory. In the city of Konya, the family settled. It would become his sanctuary, his school, his stage. By 30, Rumi wore the scholar's robe. Crowds came to hear him speak about law, the Quran, and ethics, but something within him remained unsatisfied. He spoke of heaven and rules, but his eyes were searching for something no book could offer, a longing not even he could name. And then he came, a wanderer, a torch, a storm, Shams of Tabriz, the man who would destroy and recreate him in the same breath. When Rumi met Shams, the world paused. No greetings, no titles, just recognition. Two flames bowed before one fire. Shams questioned everything. Why speak when silence burns clearer? Why pray with lips when the body could become the prayer? And then, movement. Rumi turned, slowly at first, then again and again, until the world blurred, and only love remained. As the light between Rumi and Shams grew blinding, others gathered like moths, disciples, mystics, poets, drawn not by doctrine, but by the intoxication of love. But every flame casts shadows. Some students grew jealous. Why should a wandering dervish command their master's soul? Then, without warning, Shams vanished. No farewell, no trace. Rumi's world imploded. Rumi wailed in verses. He wandered through markets, deserts, even dreams, chasing a presence he could no longer hold. Months later, Shams returned. Joy erupted like spring rain. But so did the old envy. This time Shams left forever. Some say murdered, others ascended. Rumi never spoke the truth, but his soul shattered. From the rubble of grief, poems rose. Thousands of verses, not written, but wept, danced, sung into the cosmos. His grief became a dance, a ritual. The Sima, he spun, and his students spun with him, seeking God in motion. He began dictating the Masnavi, the ocean of spiritual wisdom. Hassam, his student, transcribed Rumi's visions. To Rumi, love was not an emotion, it was the fabric of existence, the pulse in stars, the echo in empty rooms. He taught that paradise isn't a place, it blooms inside you when the self dissolves in the beloved. His fame spread across empires. Sultans, mystics, and merchants traveled weeks to sit at his feet. In old age, his body slowed, but his soul flared brighter. He called himself the reed, cut from the reed bed, still singing. He called death Shab-e Aruz, the wedding night, the night he would reunite with the divine. Centuries passed, but his flame did not fade. Rumi became the most read poet in the world. His words still whirl in hearts. Rumi began the Masnavi with the haunting tale of the reed flute, a symbol of the soul's longing for union. Rumi taught, polish the heart like a mirror. Only then can you reflect the divine. Every union ends in separation, and every loss carves space for deeper love. The Sufi path thrives on this paradox. Drunkenness, in Rumi's words, was not of alcohol, but the wine of divine remembrance. Once, hearing a blind musician, Rumi danced for hours. He said the strings pulled his soul. Rumi transcended religion. He spoke of faith not in names, but in love's flame. He saw the world as a bazaar, where every soul barters for truth, joy, and reunion. Even animals listened to him. Birds would circle, cats would curl at his feet. You are not a drop in the ocean, Rumi said. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Sima was more than ritual. It was the orbit of atoms, the spin of galaxies, the heart's eternal dance. There is a language beyond words, silence. Rumi said it speaks when the soul is ready. Rumi warned, don't seek outside what burns within you. The fire of longing is your guide. He said the one you seek is closer than your breath. The friend is within. Even death, to Rumi, was not an end, but a dance into eternity, a shedding of the shell. To this day, his words ignite hearts. In every tongue, every land, his fire dances still. Rumi taught, longing is not a wound to be healed, but a sacred fire that guides the soul to its source. He often retreated to the desert, saying the silence of sand teaches more than 1,000 books. He believed each soul is a shell holding a hidden pearl, cracked only by love's pressure. Rumi's wisdom came not from speaking, but listening to hearts, silences, and the divine whisper within. In his verses, the lover is a moth, and the beloved is the flame. Annihilation becomes union. For Rumi, love wasn't comfort. It shattered the ego and dissolved the self like salt and water. Even after death, Rumi claimed Shams spoke through him, that they were now one soul in two worlds. He said, true love is a circle. It begins in the heart and returns there endlessly. Rumi turned suffering into a poem. He taught that sorrow carves the cup that joy will fill. In one of his most famous poems, Rumi called the heart a guest house, welcoming joy, sorrow, and every visitor. Rumi kept the robe of Shams until his final breath, a relic of flame wrapped in cloth. He described divine knowledge as layers of illumination, light upon light, like glass catching dawn. He whispered to disciples, stop seeking. What you chase in stars sleeps in your chest. Rumi often used paradoxes, water and fire, love and pain, joy and loss, to reveal divine unity. He believed death was not a leaving, but a return to the source, a homecoming to love. Rumi taught, you were born from dust, yet carry the stars. Do not forget your double nature. He said the universe is music, every rustling leaf, every heartbeat, a note in the eternal song. You need not seek light, he said, you are the sun behind your own clouds. Sometimes, Rumi would teach for hours without words. His presence was the lesson. To walk the Sufi path is to carry a candle through storms. Fragile but unwavering. he said. When the heart is clean, the veil between you and the divine lifts without effort. Rumi and Shams spoke often without speaking. Their eyes held volumes. Rumi called love a fire. It doesn't burn you. It burns what you are not. He taught that paradise is not a place, but a state, a blooming within. The divine is a river, he said, and each soul a cup. Break the cup to taste the river. By candlelight, Rumi wrote with fire, each word dripping with the tears of longing. He wrote, "The soul is a crescent moon. We yearn to be whole, but wholeness is hidden in our curve." Even decades after Shams vanished, Rumi said his light never left. It had become him. He wrote, "Inhale the world, exhale the divine. In one breath, find the infinite." When Rumi passed, people wept, but he called it his wedding night with the beloved. Rumi believed that every breath we take is a whisper from the beloved, drawing us closer to union. He said the world is a mirror. What we see outside is a reflection of what we carry inside. To Rumi, religion was not a boundary, but a bridge. He saw beyond labels to the essence. The reed flute, he said, cries because it was torn from the reed bed, like the soul from the divine. He taught, surrender is not weakness, it is the courage to dissolve into love. He described the whirling as not just movement, but an embrace of absence, becoming nothing to become all. Rumi often spoke of divine intoxication, a state where ego falls away in the wine of love. He kept the fire of Shams alive, not with memory, but with every poem, every breath. He wrote, "Silence is the language of God, all else is poor translation." True pilgrimage, he said, is to the center of your heart. His poetry flowed like water, but burned like fire. He wrote with the ink of the soul. He said, "The wound is the place where light enters you. Do not be ashamed of pain." He believed that one true gaze from the beloved can erase lifetimes of sorrow. He said, "I am a drop in the ocean of poetry, but in that drop is the whole sea." Though centuries have passed, Rumi's flame still burns, not in shrines, but in hearts that love. He wrote, "Everything you lose returns in a new form. Nothing is ever truly gone." Rumi said, "You are never alone. There is a presence that walks beside you, always." He believed each poem is a bird. Once written, it flies into hearts and nests there forever. He wrote, "Love has a scent. It clings to your soul like musk, long after the lover is gone." To Rumi, the true bazaar was not of gold or spice, but of souls trading longing for union. He taught, knock, and the door will open, but know that it was always unlocked. Rumi's final truth, the lover and the beloved are one. Separation was always an illusion. In his final vision, Rumi spins, not for earth, but for the sky, for a reunion with the infinite. Centuries later, his words still echo in hearts broken, healed, and opened. This is not the end. Rumi lives wherever love breathes, wherever a soul dares to dance. If this journey moved you, there are more forgotten flames waiting to be lit. Subscribe to rediscover the stories the world forgot, mystics, rebels, poets, and kings brought back to life, one soul at a time.